moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome on this August 14th, 2025. Joining me on the road is Annie Cyrus. She joins us from her car, and we're glad to have her with us today to talk about many, many important topics, including designating Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. That is long overdue, don't you think, folks? Muslim Brotherhood was founded in 1928 by a man named Albana. And in 1987, they founded Hamas. Have you ever heard of Hamas, folks? Of course you have. This audience, of course. They carried out October 7th, Hamas. And then in 1994, they founded something called CAIR, Council on American Islamic Relations. Well, now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is saying we are indeed looking to categorize Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, and maybe even some of their, sister organizations like CAIR. Joining me now to talk about that and a lot more, including a disturbing story. Iranian regime officials are entering Canada with alarming ease. Joining me now is former Iranian, Annie Cyrus, our broadcast partner with a show each and every day here on Worldview Tube. Annie, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Brandon.
Well, be safe while we talk to you, while you travel. Let's start out with this one on Iranian regime officials are entering Canada with alarming ease. The article says, our swamped immigration system has allowed the toxic influence of a murderous regime to grow on Canadian soil. Ongoing events in the Middle East are converging with long-standing vulnerabilities in Canada's immigration and security systems and producing an alarming reality. Individuals tied to Iran's oppressive regime are gaining safe haven and, in some cases, citizenship in this country. A recent CBC investigation revealed that a former senior Iranian official arrived in Canada in April and boasted about it on social media. This individual, Nasiri, N-A-S-I-R-I, played a key role in the Iranian policymaking council that disseminates propaganda that is delivered during Friday prayers in mosques across the country. His background also includes serving as managing director of one of the Ayatollah's primary state-run newspapers. Annie, I think it is in my documentary Sabotage, where I play a clip from an individual, a national security expert, who's warning that Canada will become like an aircraft carrier from which Islamic attacks are launched on America. That seems to be becoming a reality when you start thinking of IRGC, folks tied to the Ayatollah, tied to all these mosques. These guys are now getting in Canada, just north of us. What are your thoughts when you hear this as a former Iranian who's concerned about the growth of IRGC?
Well, Brandon, this is not new to us Iranians. The Iranians, let's put it this way. The regime of Iran's family members have been using Canada for safe haven for almost over 10 years. They get free pass to come in. A lot of them own a lot of big businesses. I think I mentioned this another program of yours another time, where some of the major highways in Canada, the investment behind it is sons of Rafsanjani, who is the former president of Iran, who passed away now, but the sons are owning, they partially own highways in Canada. So Canada has been a safe haven for Iranian IRGC and regime members for a long time. However, what is becoming more scary is, even though in alarming numbers, another report, I put this one out, Brandon, about less than 3 weeks ago, an Iranian Canadian citizen was arrested right here in Michigan trying to smuggle almost worth $1.2 million worth of cocaine from U.S. to Canada. Nothing happened. Literally, no news came after that. Where I'm going with this is it's becoming more concerning because our government is looking the other way when it comes to this information. Meaning they're not putting harsher requirements for Canadian citizens who have Iranian backgrounds when they try to come into America. They still just show up with their Canadian passport and get right through. And everybody knows immigration laws are way flaky. You can literally buy your citizenship in Canada. And I say this because I have seen Iranians who've done it. They literally bought their citizenship from Canada. And they just walk right, as soon as they have their Canadian passport, they walk right into America. I mean, we have enough sleeper cells to deal with in America as it is. Now, importing them from Canada is just another extra layer of security we're not even taking into consideration.
So what do you think this says about the Canadian government when it comes to Iran and Islam, and what kind of threat do you think it poses to America?
Well, the Canadian government for a long time has been an Islam appeaser, not just toward IRGC or Iran's regime. They have been pretty, they've been at least sympathizers of Hezbollah and Hamas, publicly and openly. So they have shown that they will pick the side of Islam over any other side when it comes to it. I know another good Iranian, she is in the parliament in Canada, and she fought tooth and nail during the Masa Amini uprising for deportation of some of the Canadian Iranians who had hands involved with all of that barbaric killing of people in Iran, and she couldn't win the case. She couldn't. She ended up being pushed by labels such as Islamophobia and racism and all of that. So Canada has always been a threat as far as growing Islamization. How much is that leaning over to America? Clearly, as I said, unless we make more strict laws at our border towards Canadian entry, they're just going to keep coming over from Canada easily with no problem. When you come in with your Canadian passport, even if you're just visiting, no other reason, you easily get 90 days visa through the border and come in. And here's where it's interesting, Brandon. I went to Canada in 2018 to attend a seminar that was exposing the back then motion M103, which was the anti-Islamophobia motion. Now it's the law in Canada. And as I was entering the country, I was warned by the organizers that if any troubles at the border, give us a call. They let me in, but when I was leaving the country, they warned me that I have been put on a list of no entry in Canada. Canada is stopping us from entering their country as bunch of Islamophobes, but America is not putting a stop or a blacklist of Islamist Canadian citizens coming into America. What does that tell you about our laws here in America?
Well, that's a very good point. Let's talk about what is America doing, because you and I both agree that one of the greatest existential threats facing America is Islam. It's one that many, many, many people do not want to talk about. There's too much money to be received and laundered, maybe that it even can't even be traced back to different groups. So they're either scared or they're bought off, or they just don't have enough years of experience in real journalism and investigative reporting to know that one of the greatest existential threats to the country is Islam. And they're here, and they've embedded themselves. Muslim Brotherhood has embedded itself in our educational system, our legal system, our state legislatures. They get their own days at state capitals. This is, I think, one of the greatest existential threats to the country. What do you make of Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, openly talking about he is considering making Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization? What do you make of that?
Well, here's the thing. As you said on your opening statement, Muslim Brotherhood should have been designated a terrorist group the day they were born. I am disappointed that they're just considering it now. It should have been done. But the sad news is, actually, this is funny, we're talking about it, but tomorrow, my Substack will be on that very specific topic. The terrorist list, the terror list of the United States of America, Brennan, has become a bargaining chip. It does not mean what it used to mean. It doesn't hold the value that we expect from it. The terror list has become a bargaining chip that under each administration, certain groups are released, certain groups are added. Next administration, game changes. United States of America just added the BLA, that stands for Baluch Liberation Army. They just added BLA to the terror list while considering Muslim Brotherhood. And BLA, they're not innocent, don't get me wrong. However, BLA has been trying to take their land back from the Islamists, just like the Kurds of Middle East are doing the same thing with Iran and Iraq. But we go out of our way to add them to the terror list day after we make a deal with Pakistan about their oil and mineral reserves. This is what terrorists has become of us. We make deals with different terrorist countries. We remove them, like we did Syria a few months ago. We add other ones in there to make deals with the country that is the target of our deals today.
So in other words, we're targeting the enemy. We're targeting terrorists as terrorist organizations. If it makes happy another terrorist organization we're trying to cut a deal with. Is that what I just heard?
Exactly. Except in this example of BLA versus Pakistan, BLA, yes, they did end up targeting a civilian train. I will not overwrite that. However, they don't scream Allahu Akbar. They are not running through Sharia. They are liberation army to take their land back from Pakistan. Now, it gets worse because part of the Pakistan deal we just made, Brannon, also goes through the land of Baluch that Pakistan has taken, occupied from Baluch. We designated the people of that area as terrorists so we could finish the deal with Pakistan and have access to Baluch people's mineral.
Well, wait a minute. Are you saying we're classifying certain people as terrorists? We can justify stealing their land and minerals?
Yes. All of that detail will be on my writing tomorrow, but yes. Bottom line is Trump administration just, again, I'm not saying BLA is innocent. Please don't get me wrong. However, if BLA was designated 3 days ago, immediately with that should have been Muslim Brotherhood, should have been Pakistan's army. BLA stands for Baluch Liberation Army. Pakistan Army is also an army. Both armies should have been designated terrorist groups, especially because Pakistan Army has more actual Islamic terrorism in their resume than BLA ever thought about having. But we agreed with Pakistan's representative in D.C. that, sure, sign the deal, we'll designate BLA as terrorists, so you can allow us to tap into the Baluchistan land of minerals.
Grab those minerals. Hold right there. Annie Cyrus on the other side of the break. Wow, folks, don't go away.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, welcome back. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. Don't forget our national conference, 22nd Annual National Conference is coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. And I'm just going to go ahead and announce it. I haven't announced it yet. We're also filming this into a documentary. Not only will we be taking the keynote presentations from the speakers, but we'll be interviewing them also backstage. While one speaker is speaking, we'll be interviewing another one to get more information from them. And we're building it into a documentary called 250. 250, because 2026 is the 250th anniversary of America. The movie's called 250. Can America survive the existential threats? And we'll be producing all of this into an amazing documentary to release in 2026. If you would like to be a part of this live audience and also have access to the speakers, you can do that. All you got to do is register, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. We have the speaker bios. We have the schedule when we start Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. It's all there. The optional banquet with Hadia Miramandi as the speaker on Thursday night. That's optional. That's all there. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Now, if you would like to come here, but you just can't for some reason, you will be able to live stream it only, though, if you're a member of our vault and you have a year membership. If you want more details on having a year membership to our vault, where we access 35 years of all of my books, ebooks, audiobooks, radio shows, TV shows, documentaries, so much. You can have access to that, plus live events like our national conference, but you have to have a year membership. And you can do that at worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. But we'd love to have you here in person in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee. We'll have with us Gordon Chang, Alex Newman, Sidney Powell, Dr. Lana, Hadia Miramandi, Dr. Andy Woods, economist Chris Martenson, and lead pollster with Rasmussen, Mark Mitchell. Quite the lineup, folks. Again, full details and to register are available at worldviewstore.com. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Joining me now again is Annie Cyrus of liveuptofreedom.com. She also has a very active Substack, which is liveuptofreedom.substack.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. So Annie, before the break, we're learning that groups that should be on the terror organization list are not. Other groups apparently who are not necessarily good people are getting on there for pragmatic reasons, like, hey, we want to cut a deal with Pakistan so we can get in there and take people's minerals, so we'll classify this group. Wow. All right, let's go to CARE, Muslim Brotherhood. We know that they had their 2008, was it 2008? The memorandum was found, the explanatory memorandum in a basement, some banker boxes, lots of banker boxes, of a guy in Texas, Northern Virginia, outside D.C., Northern Virginia. And in there was the Muslim explanatory memorandum that said, we'll get Americans to destroy their own house using their own hands, destroy their own miserable house by their own hands. Well, we're doing that with people like James White that sit and do interfaith dialogue, with Yasser Qadi, who's also tied to Muslim Brotherhood. We'll use their liberties, religious liberty, freedom of speech, etc., to come in and overthrow their country. And we'll get the Americans to defend us. We'll get the Marxists to defend us. The Americans will defend the Islamists, and we'll stand back as the victims while they defend us. And then we will have fully infiltrated their country and take it down from within. Am I right? Did I get that accurate, Annie?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the names you name. Don't forget, recently we can add some of the journalists, supposedly, and the broadcasters who are helping them as well. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. They're helping them, covering up for them, and actually making them look like the good guys.
Yeah. you mentioned Tucker. There was a listener of ours, Christina. She's been sending us information that's very interesting, and she found some pictures of Tucker, and he appears to have signs. I don't know if this is in his barn, but it looks like it might be in his barn, but where he has this little studio or whatever. But it looks like he's got signs that, here's one of them. I'll show to the audience and tell you about it on TV. Call of Islam. Support the oppressed. Vote ANC. That'll be the African National Congress. I don't know where he is taking this picture. I don't know if this is in his own studio, but I kind of think it might be. I don't know. There's some other things on there that are concerning. I don't think you've been on the radio side. So tell our audience, what do you make of Tucker Carlson and him apparently interviewing every Jew hater he can get his hands on? Not to mention the president of Iran.
Absolutely, president of Iran. Yes. Here's the thing: when you a while ago, when you mentioned his sponsor, Malik, the Iranian background guy, I did some digging into Malik, and aside the fact that he's not just Iranian, he's of Iranian mother, Pakistani father. He is publicly a Muslim, and here's what I find out a few days ago, Brennan. Malik has invested $7 million into the 2025 of Tucker Carlson show. $7 million, one solo Malik putting money in. You're a broadcaster. You know what $7 million as a sponsor would buy you. A lot of anti-Semitism, and a lot of pro-Hamas and President of Iran conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, $7 million would buy you a very nice studio setup with all the equipment you need. About $1 million is what you need to have a studio and the control rooms and all the equipment to produce a network like ours. It's over $1 million. And then, your operational cost for us is like 40 grand a month. Not counting my salary. That's just our operational cost. So what's that? That's about $500,000 a year. So 7 million, subtract your $1 million, let's say, for, get your studios and control rooms built, leaves you with 6 million. Divide that by $500,000. You just bought, what is that, 12 years worth of all your operational expense if you know what you're doing.
Yes. And in return, your investment.
Did we just lose her? In return, what? What's that? In return, what, Annie?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yep. In return, what?
In return, Malik can ask Tucker that in return of the $7 million, I want you to start a new narrative. Say that Islamic country is good. Look, we're watching it happen.
So what do you know about the...
Tucker Carlson suddenly became the most anti-Semite, pro-Iran, Hamas, and Palestinian person on conservative network.
What do you know about this guy? I mean, this Islamic guy. I mean, I'm looking at him on Wikipedia for what it's worth. Omid Malik, born in either 79 or 80, an American banker and executive. He's the founder and CEO of the Merchant Bank. And I guess he was born in New Jersey to an Iranian mother and a Pakistani father. I think you just mentioned that.
Yeah. And he's also, until 2019, he was the Democrat who voted for Obama twice and donated millions to Obama's campaign. And he's also the banker who was part of the original idea of Sharia loan inside United States of America for Muslims.
It looks like he funds both the right and the left from some of the articles I'm reading.
Oh, no, he became a Republican in 2019, supposedly.
Here's an article from
He's one of the recent converts.
Fortune magazine. Tucker Carlson's online media company just raised $15 million in seed capital. Omid Malik, through his newly launched 1789 Capital boutique investment firm, has invested $15 million in seed capital. The Last Country, the startup founded by Carlson and Neil Patel. Who's Neil Patel? You know who that is?
Neil Patel is more of a silent partner. I haven't found anything specific on him yet. Seems to be a lifelong Republican and a Christian, but I haven't found much on him yet. He seems to be a silent partner.
Yesterday, we were making the case that what Tucker is doing, whether he knows it or not, by interviewing Mother Agapia Stephanopoulos, is setting up Christians because they're attacking people that believe in the millennial reign of Christ, Bible prophecy, the rapture. If you believe, if you're a Christian Zionist, he seems to be, whether he knows it or not, setting up the persecution of Christians, hardcore Christians. I mean, the most serious of serious Christians who really take the study of the Bible seriously. I mean, they're the most dispensationalist Christians are some of your most conservative Bible-believing Christians you'll find because of the nature of dispensationalism, which is the hermeneutics of studying the Bible in context, using the same house rules over and over throughout the entire Bible. I mean, that's how, that's what makes many dispensationalists good Bible teachers. So you're talking about going after, by the description of people believe in Bible prophecy, the rapture, the millennial kingdom, the God's plan for the Jewish people. You're talking about some of the most conservative Christians you would ever find in America.
Yes.
Right? You agree?
And that's the thing. I think he doesn't know the end game, but he's very aware of what he's promoting. Because if my calculation is right, and his narrative has changed because of that big money. I mean, $7 million is a lot of money for someone like Tucker Carlson to change narrative.
Well,
you got millions of. And how about this? $1 per audience. Go tell them different story.
But Fortune is saying it's 15.
He knows what he's doing. He just doesn't know what the end game. He doesn't realize when they win, Tucker's going to have to either say the Shahada or give his head. I don't think he knows that part. Fortune magazine, Annie, is saying it's $15 million in seed capital. Well, no, that is the money they raised through his investment company. His own money that he put into Tucker's broadcast company, separated as an individual investor, is $7 million. So you would have $7 million plus $15 million raised from other investors. Woo! That seems like overkill. If you remember, I mentioned on your show last night, I said Tucker will do whatever it takes and say whatever it needs to be said to not lose his luxurious lifestyle. Wow. There you go. Millions of dollars involved. And he's sitting there interviewing Pezeshkian, one of the most ruthless people involved since revolution until today in Iran. And then goes interview someone, as you said, and as I mentioned, who's sitting there promoting Hamas as just a rebel group. And they're not really terrorists, poor Palestinians, dropping every fact, hiding every fact from the conversation. Isn't it interesting, Annie, that Tucker comes out with this interview about Hamas being just, a group trying to defend their people, so-called, while Donald Trump's DOJ and Secretary of State are looking at classifying Muslim Brotherhood, who started Hamas, as a terrorist organization. I want to ask your thoughts on that when we come back and more. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at WVWFoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at WVWFoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at WVWFoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
All right, welcome back. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk coming up at the top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central, hosted by Jim Schneider. It's America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s on over 100 outlets nationwide. Annie Cyrus joins us from the road, and she is a researcher, writer, investigative journalist, broadcaster. Her Substack is just that. Annie, or liveuptofreedom.substack.com, where she has a new reports coming out almost daily. Liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Annie, don't you find the timing interesting? Here we have Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, talking about making Muslim Brotherhood, which started Hamas, a terrorist organization, designating them on the American side as a terrorist organization. And voila, while that's all going on, Tucker's interviewing a quote nun who's telling us they're just basically a humanitarian organization fighting for their people. Don't you find the timing kind of interesting, Annie?
The timing is extremely interesting. However, based on the new development of last week that we talked on your show about, this new guy, Yasser al-Shabaab, who's kind of becoming the new possible face of Gaza, who's a terrible person, by the way. I've written about him as well. With him possibly, remember, he reached out to United States of America's government saying, let me run Gaza. U.S. contacted Netanyahu. Netanyahu said, okay, I will entertain the idea. Now, if you put all of that together, the timing is perfect. If we're about to have a new mistake in Gaza border and allow Israel to wipe Hamas off, we're going to have to start targeting Muslim Brotherhood, at least in front of camera. We may never classify them because we've heard this sentence before many times. But if the move is coming to replace Hamas with Yasser and his militia group, who are traffickers of drug and humans in Gaza, if you're planning to replace Hamas with him and his team, then it's a good time to start making Muslim Brotherhood tied to Hamas, the bad guys again.
Okay, let's
Remember,
back.
It's all about the narrative.
Yeah, you unpacked a lot there. Let's go back a little bit. Here's an article from a news agency saying former PA official, Palestinian Authority official, quietly tapped to be post-war Gaza governor. Now, this is Pakistani businessman Samir Hulilai. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. Is this who you're referring to, or is this a different guy?
No, who you're referring to is a very different guy. That guy, okay, so the guy you're referring to stands no chance whatsoever to take this position. Reason is, right now we're making friends with Pakistan, and we're not going to do anything that would upset Pakistan. So that guy is completely, it's a talk, but no, he's not the person, he's not even the candidate. The guy I'm talking about, if you can go to my Substack, 2 or 3 down, you'll see that it says from Hamas to warlord. That is the guy. He basically was in Hamas prison, not for being anti-Sharia or anti-Hamas. He was in prison because he was caught smuggling drugs and humans through Gaza border or Gaza line. And then after October 7th, he was one of the prisoners who ran or freed himself after Israeli attack ended up hitting one of the Hamas prisons. Then he reappeared as this new guy helping IDF running safe checkpoints at Gaza, certain areas in Gaza. This is the guy I'm talking about. Now he's becoming the new competition. The same mistake they made with Hamas, thinking if we let Hamas grow, they can override PLO. Now they want to let this guy grow to over. But his people are, I don't know if that's even possible, but they're worse than Hamas. They will be worse than Hamas in 3 years if they gain power.
Why would Benjamin Netanyahu agree to that, Annie?
Well, the same reason Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to ceasefire when he knew he has IRGC out of Iran, the same reason he has agreed to more than 37 ceasefires in the last 12 years, the same reason he keeps agreeing to ceasefire with Hezbollah, because we keep forcing him.
So wait a
We
minute.
keep forcing Israel to
Again,
take these deals.
the narrative is Israel runs America, but you're telling me that Netanyahu dances to the tune of America. And that's, of course, why I got angry a couple times before October 7th on this show, raising my voice and scolding Netanyahu, which I doubt he ever heard, telling him, quit kissing the ring of America, do what's best for your nation. You and I both know Israel doesn't run America. America has been leaning on Israel because of all the foreign aid and everything else we do for them. But the narrative among all the anti-Semites is that Netanyahu and the Jews run America and the world.
Well, of course, that's the narrative, but look at it. How many times, how many presidents, American presidents, have said the following sentence to the Prime Minister of Netanyahu or otherwise? If you don't go for ceasefire, we will stop all military support. If you don't sign the ceasefire and the agreement and the two-state solution, we cut all funding and help of Iron Dome. Who's wrong? We're using all of this as leverage to keep Israel right where it's at because we benefit from this chaos and terrorism in the Middle East.
How do we?
I disagree with Netanyahu on a lot of things, but one thing I agree with him is as long as there are Islamists in the Middle East, there will never be peace in the Middle East. But we have a president today who's trying to achieve his own peace deal with Arab Islamic countries, not realizing what a giant tangle he's creating in the Middle East that is going to come back and hunt us here in America.
How do we benefit by keeping the Islamists happy? Them buying some of our debt, keeping some controversy there, so it keeps the oil prices high for corporations that fund the members of Congress and House and Senate and presidents and candidates. How do we benefit by continuing to give a lifeline to Islam?
Well, financially, the more chaos and war is going on in the Middle East, you know, I mean, there is the weapon industry.
Yeah, the military-industrial complex. Yeah.
And then there's also the oil money you just talked about.
Yeah.
For example, as recent as Pakistan oil, I mentioned it. They don't have enough reserves to matter to us. We probably have more oil reserves here than they do. But President Trump making a deal with Pakistan, he thinks is going to force Saudi Arabia to drop the price because there's a new competition. If we get our oil from Pakistan, we don't need to go get it from Saudi Arabia. These games, these very calculated, dangerous games, are going to hunt us here in our own soil soon. But these are the so-called benefits they see.
Now let's talk about being hunted here. Where are we at with America, say, funding the Taliban, the growth of the Taliban, the growth of ISIS, these groups overseas? And what about experts saying they're planning something for America? What's the latest you're hearing on that?
Well, here's the thing. At the moment, because we're making the deal with Pakistan again, Taliban is extremely unhappy with us. Very unhappy. Not very recent, but fairly recently, one of the leaders of Taliban did a speech, kind of upset, why are we not coming into these negotiations because of their minerals? I mean, they do have a very, if not the biggest, second or third biggest copper resources. Why is Trump not talking to us? And he also attached a little tiny bit of a threat there that if you don't want our minerals, I'm going to bring China into it. Now, the tie to China, for your audience who may not know, China already owns part of Pakistan and their minerals. So Taliban being unhappy with Trump not going towards Taliban yet, they're trying to bring China in to scare Pakistan from the deal they're making with America. You see, Brandon, what I mean by Trump is creating a big tangle? This is the tangle I'm talking about. This isn't just the Islamic tangle. Brandon, Iran's bringing Russia into it. Taliban is bringing China into it. You, of all people, know how dangerous this tangle could look like for us.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Let's open the phone lines. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Now, I want to float something else, Annie. I don't believe in a lot of coincidences. I believe in a lot of messaging and preparing people. Conservatives generally are not the ones that want military on our streets. We're not for, that federalizing the police, nationalizing the police, federal troops on the streets. If there's something happens, you have a state of emergency. Sometimes the president might declare martial law or a governor, bring in the National Guard. But this is something that's very limited to do only when there's a national crisis, not using the military as police. That's against the American people, violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. Now, what they're saying in D.C. is the National Guard and whatnot will be there to assist the police, not do any arrests. Okay. Well, again, they can do a lot in D.C. because D.C. is supposed to be under federal control. So District of Columbia is totally different. But now we have the talk of using the military in other cities in America. And as a constitutionalist, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And yet we have Charlie Kirk out there celebrating the idea of federal troops in other major cities. Listen to this.
Here's President Donald Trump saying once we liberate D.C., and by the way, I guarantee that it'll go whoop, it's going to go way down. And then the media will say, oh, it's only going down because he brought in the military. Exactly. We need full military occupation of these cities until the crime desists. Period.
Did you hear what he just said? Listen again.
We need full military occupation of these cities until the crime desists. Period. We need a desisting of crime in our cities. We're not going to put up with it. I want to be able to walk Magnificent Mile in Chicago without having to look over my shoulder.
Wow. So that's so ignorant, number one. But number two, notice all of these mouthpieces that in the conservative so-called arena that are championing this. When I saw this, I thought, Annie, is this trying to get the American people used to this because something's coming? Because they know something might happen? What are they doing here? I believe, I hate to say it, but just like the left gets a lot of their talking points, have you noticed a lot of the podcasters and so-called influencers out there, they pick up on the same stories and the same mantra on the same days? That's not by accident. Someone's feeding them talking points. Number one, do you see that? And number two, why on earth would conservatives be celebrating this? I'll get your answer on the other side of the break. There's the music right there. I was like, where's the music? And there it is. And we're going to take your calls as well. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. All right, Annie Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And we're at worldviewtube.com. Remember, we have a 24-hour-a-day Bible prophecy channel now. worldviewtube.com/prophecy. worldviewtube.com/prophecy. Share it with your family and friends because, again, the Bible is coming to life, folks. We'll be right back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All All right, we're going to go to Stephen in Florida, Lily in Arizona. But first, Annie, real quick, the questions and statements I set up before the break. Go.
Yes, they are always fed talking points. Now, recently, they're being forced talking points through either sponsorship, paychecks, or a threat of censorship. I was shocked when I heard any conservatives celebrating this as well. I understand they can do whatever they want in D.C., but I'm not even happy with that. I don't recall Mayor Rudy Giuliani bringing any military forces to clean up crimes in New York. Why don't we call him and see how he did it? There are times where we can, handle the crime and lower the crime, because there's no way you can have a country with no crime. That part on its own tells you how much information one can have. But I do believe the reason they're quote-unquote celebrating it on cameras behind the microphones is the push. I know I have received information directly from some of the influencers that they're under heavy pressure, that they will be deplatformed if they don't follow with the talking points, if they continue criticizing, and they have decided to suicide, sadly. But they're one way or another, they are pushing the narrative. I don't know if because we want to get used to the idea, Brennan, to be honest. I think at this point there is so much division inside the government that President Trump is taking. I am not agreeing with him, but he is taking dramatic measures to make some sort of improvement to gain his popularity back. And this one is just overly dramatic.
Yeah. Well,
he's facing too much pushback from the government itself that he's just going solo using his power.
They're just going to spend millions putting like 600 troops on standby in like 200-man, 300-man teams to be deployed at any minute, basing them in Alabama and one other place. I reported on that last night. Yeah. Well, I just know people would be screaming if it was going on under Kamala Harris. Let's go to Stephen in Florida, line 1. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good afternoon, Brandon and Annie. I was just looking at Annie's Substack about this Mother Agapea that you showed the Tucker Carlson interview with her yesterday, and we're talking about this today. Well, here's what I want to say. And you look at all these people. You got, Alex Jones, Mike Adams, all the people working for Alex, Harrison Smith, Owen Schroyer, Hal Turner, he's another one, and then Candace Owens. I mean, all these people, you look at their spiritual roots, okay? Alex Jones says he's been to the third heaven. Mike Adams is off on his tangent, meritocracy. But Stephen Anderson's another one. And Candace Owens, you look at the woman, the face of that woman, she looks possessed, all right? And it's not coincidence. Here's what I'm getting at. Tucker Carlson is an Episcopalian. That's Church of England, which is just an offshoot of the papacy. You study the history. Henry VIII parted with them solely because the Pope would not nullify his marriage to Catherine. But it's Catholic. It's Roman Catholic. The papacy has always been the main enemy of biblical Christianity and Israel. And then here's Candace Owens. What does she come out and say? I'm a Catholic. Okay, that's an indictment. She's self-indicted herself by saying that, because Catholicism, the papacy, is antichrist. So it's no surprise to me that these people are taking such a stand against Israel. And I'd love to go up against, it's a shame that the senator from Texas, his name just escaped me.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz, that he's so ignorant of the Bible, because, Genesis 12:3, and God reiterated that blessing and cursing for Abraham and his descendants to Isaac, who God named, and then Jacob, and God's the one that gave him the name Israel. That name is of divine origin. And these people are out there saying, well, the people in Israel today, they're Khazarians, they're fake Jews, so those promises don't apply. Now, we know nationally, and you said this, and I agree, there's things that the Israeli government does. I mean, there's a law there And we just had a missionary to Israel, and he said it's against the law there. You cannot witness to anyone under age 18 that's a Jew. You will be put in jail. So they do that. But the thing is that this whole thing about the Jews run the world, all the globalists, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, even Hitler, they were all Jewish. This is all the deception of Satan because, and look at...
I got to let you go. You're on a roll. You're on a roll. You're doing great, but I got to get to one more caller. I think you're on a roll, though. And I hope you'll call back in, Steve. Lily from Arizona, hop in here for a run out of time, Lily.
Hey there. Thank you so much for addressing all of these issues, but I want to say just a short little commentary that's biblical based on prophecy. The cup is reeling to and fro, and how do we know when you see the nations surrounding her with accusations, lies from the pit of hell?
Say that one more time. I missed what you just said.
Okay, the cup is reeling to and fro, and how do we know when you see the nations surrounding her with accusations and lies from the pit of hell that wrong is right and no one can tell when darkness pretends to be light? The masses succumb, made numb by choice, to give voice to the dominion of rebellion. Beware if you are aware when the chaos calms and the call to arms turns to peace and safety, then sudden destruction.
Well, thank you, Lily. And of course, I do think that Steve also had it right. All this anti-Semitism seems to be preparing for what's coming. And again, they are in unbelief. Yes, the Jews, many of them are in unbelief. Many Americans are in unbelief, but you know what? God is going to get many of them are going to get saved. And so I'm just letting the Lord sort it out. But Annie, it's amazing. So many Americans, in closing, are attacking the Jews, but defending Islam. And yet it's Islam that wants the elimination of both Christians and Jews. These people, as you said already, Tucker, does he really understand? He is setting up for his own demise. But maybe he's going to say the Shahada, and maybe he already has. Closing comment, Annie?
Absolutely. And here's the problem, because Islam has the perfect trick to get a lot of Christians to align with them versus Jews. And the trick is they say, we believe in Jesus. But a lot of Christians don't take the time to read the Quran or listen to those of us who are explaining who is the Jesus they believe in.
Annie,
that is how they have been able to connect the bridge of saying, look, we believe in Jesus.
That's a great point. So the Jews don't believe in Jesus, but the Muslims do. So we would be more aligned with them than the Jews. Wow, but who's the Jesus of Islam? Yes, not the Jesus of the Bible. LiveUpToFreedom.com. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Take care.
This has been...
And we're back. We're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and you right here at Worldview Tube. I want to thank Annie for being with us. She's traveling and she's on the road, and we appreciate her being with us by phone. All right, folks, before we run off, I want to remind you guys, it is August 13th, and a lot of times the giving drops in the summer, folks. But we're here. A lot of people will take vacation for a week or two. They get off the air, particularly in August. Congress is out and a lot of others take off. But here we are, still broadcasting, still pushing out the truth. Tons of information and shows over there at worldviewtube.com. And folks, we got to have your support, okay? So I need you guys to think about going right now to two places. One is worldviewfoundation.com and making a contribution. Actually, I'm going to have you go to three places. worldviewfoundation.com and making a contribution. The other is join our vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. You get something when you join that. You get access to 35 years of ebooks, audiobooks, documentaries, 21 years of our Worldview Weekend conferences filmed and in there. It's evergreen because the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever. And the Bible is not out of date. In fact, as we often know, so much of what is happening is setting the stage for what's already discussed in the Bible. So you're getting something for that support, but you're also going to be able to live stream our national conference coming up October 3rd and 4th. We're going to have some other special events you're going to be able to live stream. And very, very soon, we are releasing an online Worldview and Bible software, an online Worldview and Bible software sometime this fall. I can't give you a date because we've been working on it for so long. The programming, the servers, these powerful, powerful computer system that has gone over our entire 35 years, every ebook, every documentary, every radio show, every TV show, and has transcribed it. And now we're very close to being able to say, hey, I want to know more about Gog Magog. And our computer system will pull up for you the radio show where in that hour, maybe Jimmy DeYoung talked about it, and it'll bring it up right to the second. Or maybe it's in a video, and it'll bring it up right to the second. You won't have to wade through an hour video to find out where it is. It'll bring you right to it. You'll be able to say, tell me about Muslim Brotherhood. And it will give you a full report on Muslim Brotherhood. And you say, well, I only want it in 500 words. And it'll give you a five. Okay, now write me a paper on Muslim Brotherhood. Tell me about evidence for the resurrection of Christ. Boom. Now, this is all coming from our 35 years of work. My books, my documentaries, my radio shows, my TV shows, my conferences. It's a powerful search engine, Bible software, Worldview software. There's nothing else like it. Because there's not many people that have been doing what we do for 35 years in all areas. Most people do what they do, and they only focus on one or two areas. We, of course, having interviewed now thousands of leading scholars like the late Dr. Jimmy DeYoung, the late Dr. John Whitcomb, the late Dr. Ed Heinzen, the list goes on and on. We've interviewed so many people in the area of law, science, economics, history, family, social issues. There's not going to be any other Worldview Bible software program like this. There just won't be. Not unless they want to interview all the same people I've interviewed, but good luck because some of them are now deceased. That will be a part of the vault this fall. When it's launched, it will be a part of the vault. I'm not going to raise the price of the vault. We're not going to make it a separate club. It's just going to be added for vault members. So please consider joining, as it's a big part of our general operating budget, okay? And a lot of giving slows down in the summer. So it's very, very important we have your support now. worldviewtube.com/vault. And the other place I want you to go is worldviewfoundation.com. And the third place is worldviewtube.com/sponsors. These are all sponsors, but they don't pay us unless you use their services or products. Bella Grace, Numi, Gatatana, the Worldview water filter, Worldview Talk, which is the satellite phone, the solar generators, all that. I have all these things. I take Bella Grace, I take Gatatana, I swish with the Numi. These are all things I personally do, okay? And I believe in them. And there's clinical trials behind it. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Because folks, I didn't have somebody like Tucker pony up $15 million. We have to try to bring it in every month. I can see why people finally retire because they get tired of that grind every month. But I'm not planning to, but I got to have your support. Okay, there are 3 ways right there you can do it. So thank you. All right, talk to you tonight on Brandon House Live. Take care.